Oh, nice. Good. How are you? Good. Thanks, Sid.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Check it out. New turbo time. What is up, guys? Thanks for joining us on the channel today. Hit that subscribe button below, the little red one. It's free, and you're going to stay up to date on the details for our 240 SX giveaway car. Today, we are installing the turbo. Check it out. Comes equipped with plenty of shaft play. Nicks on the compressor wheel. Needless to say, this thing's in great shape. Just kidding. We got a new turbo. This is the old one, and that's why we're replacing it. This looks like an old Godspeed, like a TD05, and it's had better days. So we're getting rid of this one. Say goodbye. Ooh, and this one got delivered today. This turbo is a Twisted Motion turbo, GT2871 version 1. The homies at Twisted Motion hooked us up a little bit with a deal on this turbo, and I've heard a lot of good things about it, and I am pumped to try it out on this car and see how it does. Nice, comes with new gaskets. So you've got your oil drain gasket, you've got your T3 flange, and you've got your 5-bolt, new studs. It's always a plus not to have to hunt down your gaskets. It's a balancing sheet. This is a pretty inexpensive turbo. It retails for $350 is all, but it is balanced. So I've seen a lot of talk out there about them not being balanced and having issues. Comes with a sheet to prove it. I'll show you how we can tell that too, hopefully. Ooh, big old heavy baby. So the reason why we decided to go with this Twisted Motion GT2871 is because we're looking to make about 350 wheel. Apparently that's what most people make on this turbo, but they do have a customer out there making 420 wheel on it. So we should be safe for our power goals, and we should be able to accomplish it with this turbo. The second big reason is the price point. At $350 retail, you can't beat that to make that power goal. And it mounts up exactly with the piping, manifolds, and exhaust that we already have. So it's a good way to save a little money without having to change all of our piping, flanges, stuff like that. So I'm pumped to get this turbo on the car, get it tuned, and see how it does. The other good thing about these Twisted Motion turbos is they have a year warranty with no questions asked. So it literally told me if I smash it with a hammer and I don't want it anymore, I could return it. No questions asked. Pretty crazy, but sounds good to me. Now, if you want to see where this was balanced, you can look right here on that nut and see where it was ground away. And that is where they removed material in order to compensate for an imbalance in the assembly and wheel. So should be balanced, ready to go. Now it is time to remove this wastegate, and we're going to weld the wastegate closed, which is not something you want to do unless you have an external wastegate, which we have, and we want to use So this wastegate dumps externally, sounds awesome, and it's gonna tune way better than an internal wastegate will. We'll have more accurate boost control and less boost creep and issues like that that we don't want to have when we're tuning a turbo car. Tried to remove the fittings from the old turbo so we could use the old lines. We're gonna need some new fittings. New fittings? Check. All right, as I mentioned before, we are going to run an external wastegate with this turbo. So if you're going to do that, this is how you remove the actuator and weld it in place so that you can use the external gate. If you are planning on running the regular internal wastegate, then you will leave the actuator intact and you're good to go. After you hook up all of your vacuum lines and stuff, of course. Got the wastegate actuator off. Don't need that anymore. All right, now that we have no wastegate actuator connected anymore, you can see that if there was pressure building behind the turbine wheel, this could open freely and close, in which case you wouldn't be able to control your boost pressure at all. So I'm gonna do a little research and see where we should weld this. I've seen it out here usually. I guess you could weld it in here too, but I'm gonna research and find out what's best, and we're gonna get this thing welded. All right, so update. Rather than welding the internal wastegate in place so we can use our external wastegate, I built a bracket that goes from the factory turbo bracket and holds the wastegate closed under tension. The reason is because when I started researching where to weld this thing, how to weld it, because you've got steel and then you have cast and different materials that will expand and contract differently under temperatures, and there's an issue with welds cracking and the flap getting loose if you weld it, and this seems to be the best solution. So I'm pumped we got that done. Made that little twisty bracket all by myself. And I've got all the fittings that we need in, and we are ready to go. So first I'm gonna get the lines installed onto the turbo because the space you have to work with is pretty tight in the engine bay. And then I'm going to get the turbo installed onto the manifold. This is a little bit different than I'm used to. Usually I will install a manifold and then the turbo onto the manifold in Subarus, but there's so little space in this engine bay, and with the top manifold and lower turbo, it makes it really hard to get the turbo under there and mount it up to the manifold well. So it's just easier to take the manifold and the turbo off at the same time. We got new gaskets, so it's chill, we won't have any leaks. You always got to remember to do that. All right, the turbo is all dialed. We have our oil feed line coming in the top, our oil drain or return coming out the bottom. We've got our water ins and outs for coolant. And now it's time to mount it to our manifold and then mount both of them into the car at the same time. feel like I'm about to replace this car's heart right now. All right, we're going in. Almost created the world's largest boost leak ever to be seen on an SR20. Can't forget the new gaskets. All right, finally got it. See the new turbo right there? Ooh, man. So that was a pretty easy install. Got all the hardware tightened that holds the manifold to the engine block, the dipstick reattached, all of the coolant and oil lines for feed and drain tightened and plumbed, and it is looking good. And honestly, check it out. I can't get over the fuel system. So pumped on that. We're getting pretty dialed on both sides here. Next episodes, we're going to be installing the exhaust, the external wastegate, and then the intercooler piping, and a new intercooler. So far, I'm pumped on this Twisted Motion turbo. The install was super easy. It fit really well. And I'm excited to see how it performs when we dyno tune in a couple weeks. So stay tuned for that. It'll be cool to see how the response is, the numbers it makes, and some other cool stuff we're doing with the tune since we have the Hall Tech. So thanks again, Twisted Motion, for the support on this project. If you're new to this channel, hit that red subscribe button below, hit the notification bell so that when we announce how you can enter to win our S14 kouki project, you get notified and you don't miss out. Thanks for joining, guys. Stay tuned.
Oh yeah, just a 1 2 1 2. A little something for you and your little biatch.